Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Week in the World of Football. This is episode number 251 for July 5th, 2020. I'm your host, Randy Snow. On today's show, the USFL Championship game was played in Canton, Ohio, and we were there. And also this week, USC and UCLA announced that they're going to be joining a new conference in 2024. Who could that be? We'll talk about that later. In this week's history lesson, we tell the story of the history of the Egg Bowl. But I'm not here by myself. Across the table from me, as always, is my son Adam.
Yeah, rocking the T-shirts they gave out at the USFL Championship
game. They gave us free T-shirts.
That was pretty cool.
I don't know if mine will fit because they only had large and extra large.
Yeah, large and extra large. I didn't actually think this one would fit me.
It fits pretty good.
I've been kind of going a size up from this. I need to shed some poundage, but fits pretty decent. And for those of you listening to the podcast, maybe you'll catch a video of us wearing what we're wearing right now. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I'm wearing my throwback Michigan Panthers.
That is a nice
jersey.
shirt. I do like that shirt a lot. That's the one you should have wore to the game.
I know.
But the shirt you wore was pretty nice. Saw one other person wearing that, but we'll talk about that championship game in a little bit.
Right. Okay, we come to you each week from the World of Football Man Cave, located right here in the center of the football world, Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain our listeners with the glorious buffet that is the world of football. And we also keep a close eye on the rich history of the game. Thanks for checking out our podcast. We'd love to get your feedback on one of our many platforms: Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube, where we post the entire audio portion of this show every week, as well as other selected videos. So let's begin with today's show with Adam and the World of Football scoreboard.
Yeah, we're going to kick things off this week with the USFL Championship game. That's right, after 10 weeks of the regular season, followed by a weekend of playoff action, we come to the final game of the season for this inaugural season of the USFL. That is the 2022 USFL Championship game held in Canton, Ohio, which we had the pleasure of attending in person.
Yes.
So I don't know, how do you want to do it? Do you want to start with the game first, what we were doing there, or?
Yeah, I thought we'd concentrate more on the experience of being at the game rather than the game, because if you were a football fan, you probably watched the game, so you know what's going on. But we'll hit a couple of things about the game, and then we'll just talk about our experience getting there. And
this is your show. Let's do this.
Okay, all right. Oh, you want me to read this?
I'm not saying read it. Like you said, talking about our experience. This is about the game.
Yeah, let's start with the game. And
start
then we'll
with the game. Okay, see, this is where communication would come in hand.
I communicated that. You just weren't listening, and you can go back and check
talking
that later.
over each other. All right, the Birmingham Stallions defeated the Philadelphia Stars 33-30 to become the inaugural USFL champions.
Yeah, kind of figured that was going to happen.
Yeah, heck of a game because, well, first it looked like it was a one-sided affair because at the end of the first half, the Stallions were actually up 20-9.
Yeah.
It was kind of a really tough showing for the Stars at first.
One-sided in the first half.
Yeah,
but then
the second half came around, and boy, did Philly come up big a few times during the game.
Yeah.
They closed the gap, then they eventually snagged the lead. But then in the end, we had a couple quarterbacks go down at the start of the fourth quarter. Both starters, the backups came in, and I think what do they call them? The backup for the Stars. Not the Stars, the backup for the Stallions, who started the season for the team, ended the season for the team after losing the starting job. Magoo? They kept calling him Magoo.
It was spelled funny, but I kept thinking, what, you mean the son of Mr. Magoo from the cartoon?
But, so, he came in, he looked a little sharper. Both quarterbacks, I think threw interceptions at one point. So, one of them pretty bad there at the end with 20 seconds left to seal the victory for the Birmingham Stallions, to let them, hold on there at the end. And, that's it. That's how the championship was determined. It was a pretty good game. When you get a 30-33 score, it was a tight affair. We almost thought it was going to go to overtime the way it was looking there for a minute.
Yep.
But the Stallions pulled it out. They've been the best team all season long.
Yep.
Boy, they got scared there for a bit, but they do what the champions do and the best teams do, and that's just you stay in the game even if you're down a little bit, and you hang on to win. And that's what they did, and they did that all but one time this season, losing only one game. So.
Well, they had some questionable play calling towards the end of the game. There was a spot where it was fourth down, and and they decided to punt instead of going for it to
So
run out
that
the
one,
clock or something.
so I caught the replay of this game. I was on TV the next day, so I caught the replay of it because we didn't get to see the broadcast live, obviously, because we were there at the game. So I guess the rationale there was kind of sound. If you weren't confident in your field goal kicker at that point to shank a kick there, you're getting the ball at, what was it? It was like the 30 or 40 yard line. You would have given up the ball. But if you at least punt it, worst case scenario, it goes out of the back of the end zone. It goes to the 20. Best case scenario, you pin them down at the 1, 2, 3 yard line, and they have to go 90 plus yards to get a touchdown with 40, 30, whatever seconds were left.
Okay.
Ended up obviously bouncing into the back of the end zone, or bouncing into the end zone, get it out at the 20, so still, better than getting it at the 40. That's 20 more yards they got to travel. So
And Philadelphia was working their way down the field.
they started to. It was 2 plays. I think the first play, they had a nice pass up the middle, and then the last play of the game after, because they had to scramble. They had no timeouts left. Scrambled. The quarterback scrambled a bit, threw the ball, and it just bad pass, intercepted. He was trying to make something happen, and that's how the Stallions sealed the game, and that was the inaugural championship game. So overall, great experience. But we, as much as we were there for the game, we were there for the entire experience of what the USFL was doing. We started with, obviously, road tripping down to Canton. We took in the Hall of Fame, got some pictures around there, got to see the Hall of Fame busts of the new Lions guys that went in.
Yep, Calvin Johnson,
Alex Karras.
Alex Karras the year before.
So we did a little bit of that, and then we got in line, the big long line for the championship game, which wrapped around the stadium, came down past the gates of the entranceway of the Hall of Fame, and so we were in line for a little bit. Finally got in, and
it moved along pretty good.
It did.
But yeah, when we were in the Hall of Fame, we didn't know exactly when the gates opened, so we went by the front door, and we could see the line was not moving. People were just standing there. So we thought, well, obviously they haven't opened the gates yet. So we stayed a little longer, hung out in the gift shop one more time, and just had a good time at the Hall of Fame. But it was a 4-hour drive for us to get to Canton from Kalamazoo, but it wasn't bad. It was a beautiful day, a beautiful evening for that game. And after we left the Hall of Fame, we got in line and got right in. And I was surprised, they had people there handing out free T-shirts the minute you walked in.
Yeah.
The one that you're wearing right now, the 2020 championship game.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool that they give you some free stuff. And we only paid $20 for tickets to get in.
Yeah.
Now you were looking, because I said halfway through the game, I said, well, how much would it be if we came here to see the Hall of Fame game in a couple weeks? And the price range was like
160 to like 350 or something.
So you can't touch $20 tickets. So we got to see Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium for the first time. Watch a game. We'd been in the stadium, but I think it was before they
it was before the renovations, and we were on the field. We never actually got to see the bleachers or anything. But whatever they did, I thought it was a nice looking stadium.
Sure.
Really up there. The concession stands were actually really nice. Obviously pricey because that's what concession stands do.
That's the way it is.
But I mean, overall, I thought the stadium was great. Now my big problem is with the USFL's presentation. Sure, they had some good stuff, some stuff for the kids and
games to play,
whatever.
Places to take selfies.
They were good about throwing T-shirts into the stands all game long. But my big problem was, why were there only 2 mascots at the game? This should have been a celebration of the inaugural season of the USFL. Right. A lot of fans didn't get to see their mascots in person,
right?
And they wasted their time getting 8 mascots. So we only saw 2 mascots last night for the 2 teams. 2 sets of cheerleaders, which, hey, whatever, that's your thing. But
they were probably the same cheerleaders that have been down there all year long, and they just divided them in 2 and said, okay, now for the championship game, you guys are going to be the Philadelphia cheerleaders, and you are going to be, and their uniforms were so similar.
Yeah.
The only difference was that one group had gold pom poms, and the other ones had red.
Right.
That's the only way you could tell them apart.
Yeah.
They did stuff together at the beginning, and then they did stuff separate, routines or whatever. But I mean, it was good. But yes, I would, as much as I don't care for the new redesign of the Michigan Panthers, I would have gotten my picture taken with the Michigan Panther mascot if he had been there.
Yeah, I think I would have too.
So that was a little disappointing. You pointed that out, and I thought, well, that's a good point. It's nobody's gotten to see all the mascots except anybody that was down in Birmingham all season long.
If you went to all the different teams playing, but. You'd think you're taking the game on the road to Canton. Sure, it's only 4 teams who are going to play in the playoffs there, but this should have been a league celebration.
Yep.
And while it is a championship game, it should be treated as such. It would have been nice to maybe at halftime have all 8 mascots come out, do something. But
They could have gone up in the stands and walked around. They could have, just been on the sideline. What was it? Cletus from Fox Sports was there on the sideline.
I didn't see him. I saw people post pictures of him, but I didn't actually see him.
I did see the top of his head. He was right up along the front, in front of us. And we were setting up pretty good. I think we were in section 223.
224.
3 or 4. But yeah, we were right on like the
seats, general
30 yard
admission.
line.
So
general admission seats, you could sit anywhere you wanted.
Yep, so that was great.
Got some pictures taken by the USFL sign and a few other things. So I mean, like I said, it was hot, but it wasn't too hot.
Oh no, I don't even say it was hot. I thought it was perfect weather all day long. So.
Yeah, and the side we were in was in the shade too.
Yeah,
across the field from us, they were in the sun for a while until the sun went down, but we were in the shade and. Just a gorgeous evening. It was the 3rd of July, so some people in town were doing fireworks.
Oh, yeah, everywhere you looked, pretty much, any direction.
You could see some fireworks in the distance around town. It was just a gorgeous night, gorgeous atmosphere, a good game. It was awesome. Yeah. Just an awesome experience to be there for this.
Other than a few hiccups, I mean, yeah.
And then we had a 4-hour drive. I thought we might stop somewhere on the way home, but the game got over with. What was it? Almost midnight by the time we left the stadium.
It was 11 o'clock. The game kind of started wrapping up.
Because we started. Was it 11?
Yeah, it was about 11. We got on the road by 11:30. So
yeah, it was like 11:45, almost 4 o'clock in the morning. But we just drove straight home and didn't stop anywhere. Luckily, I got gas before we went to the Hall of Fame, and it worked out great.
It did.
But I was just wiped out yesterday. I could not get enough sleep, and I was tired all day. But that's the price you pay,
I guess,
for being a football fan
and
and making the 4-hour drive to see a championship game. It was awesome. I'd do it again. I might do it every year if they keep going to Canton.
There, I'd do it
and I
too.
can get $20 tickets to the game, sitting where I want.
Right.
Yeah, I'd probably do it.
I agree with that. And what was also cool was, there were a lot of people in their Stallions shirts, a lot of people in their Stars shirts. But what was also really neat was seeing a lot of fans just wearing other team jerseys. Like we saw a Kurt Warner Iowa Barnstormers jersey. We saw
Arena Football League.
So we saw a lot of different leagues represented actually, which was kind of cool. Yeah. Obviously, there's a lot of Cleveland Browns there because there was a lot of Cleveland Browns fans. We saw some Lions fans.
Ohio State University.
Ohio State was a lot of Ohio State.
Sure.
Couple of Michigan shirts. One lady ended up on the Jumbotron in a Michigan shirt who. Was having a good time until everybody started booing at her.
She was hamming it up for the camera, happy to be here, and then all of a sudden, when everybody realized she was wearing Michigan shirt, they started booing.
Yep.
And what did she do?
Oh, she gave him a couple of birds, I'll tell you that.
She started flipping off everybody, and so they finally cut away from her. But God, that was funny.
It was funny. And then, some other leagues that were represented. We saw some Alliance of American Football in a Birmingham Iron jersey.
Right, yeah.
Shout out to that dude.
Yep.
Apparently, you saw somebody walking around in a new XFL shirt with the new Dwayne The Rock logo.
Yep, black T-shirt with the white XFL logo that they're so controversial.
See, I missed that.
Over that. Yep, it was real quick. Yeah. By the time I pointed him to you, he was already into the tunnel going to get something to eat.
We also saw a few Washington Valor shirts from the Arena Football League, now defunct, so that was cool.
The guy and his wife both had jerseys on.
I thought that was neat, seeing some Washington Valor shirts, and I wasn't too surprised, but a little surprised to see a Columbus Destroyers jersey, which you missed.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
You literally walked right by him, too. That's what was crazy.
I was probably going for the hot dog, so I wasn't paying attention.
And there was one guy in a Bernie Kosar jersey that we think could have been a Cleveland Gladiators jersey, which I've seen.
It was black and red, and he was
black and red. It had the same kind of shoulder style that those jerseys did.
I'm pretty sure it was. So, we saw them from the back, but not from the front. But I'm going to say that was a
so a very diverse crowd there, all representing a lot of different football leagues and teams. So that was pretty cool.
Yep.
And that was our experience there at the USFL Championship game.
Yeah, like I said, I would do it again. I was a little worried that we might run into some rain or something, but oh my gosh, what a great evening!
Great
to sit out and watch the USFL Championship game. Yep. Are you up for going again next year if they have it in Canton again?
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
Depends on the weekend. Is it 4th of July weekend again? I'd have to think about it.
Yeah.
And if Michigan's in it.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Anything else about this before we move on?
No, I think we're good. It was a great experience.
Yep. All right. We move on to the CFL. It was week 4 out there in Canada. Thursday night, we had the British Columbia Lions defeat the Ottawa Red Blacks 34-31. It was Canada Day weekend, mind you, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
For those Americans here celebrating the 4th of July weekend, let us not forget that Canada celebrates up there Canada Day weekend. Yep. So shout out to our Canadian brethren up there. Hope you guys had a fun celebration up there. and have a lot more freedoms apparently than we do down here now. Hey, it's a hot topic. You got to kind of mention.
No, don't have to talk about that.
Anyway, the Lions remain undefeated, and the Red Blacks remain winless after the results of that game. Ottawa had a field goal brought. An Ottawa field goal. Wow, terrible writing by our
crack staff
over here. An Ottawa field goal brought them within 3 points in the closing minute of the game, but the onside kick was recovered by British Columbia, who then ran out the clock to finish that game.
A good close game on the start of Canada Day weekend for the BC. This game could have gone either way, and I think it looked like the Red Blacks may be coming back to win that game, but couldn't get the onside kick at the end, or they could have at least kicked a field goal to tie it up and send it to overtime, but wasn't to be.
Nope. And then on Friday night, we had the Edmonton Elks get a victory over the Hamilton Tiger Cats in another close game, 29-25. That one, it was a battle of winless teams, but Edmonton got their first win of the season, while Hamilton now remains winless. Lawrence Woods returned a kickoff 72 yards for a touchdown in the second quarter for Hamilton. The Elks, however, chipped away at Hamilton's 22-9 lead. Dang. How do you screw that one up? They had that lead in the second half and then came and tied the game at 22 apiece in the fourth quarter. Hamilton then took a 25-22 lead on a 33-yard field goal with about 3.5 minutes to play. But Edmond defensive back Jalen Collins recovered a fumble and returned it 14 yards for the touchdown. That was a great highlight, by the way, with 1:47 remaining for the winning score. Rookie Canadian quarterback Trey Ford got his first CFL win for Edmonton. And Hamilton wore some pretty interesting uniforms I don't think I've ever seen before. Some gray uniforms with a H on their black helmets. I wasn't sure who I was watching.
Never seen anything like that. The gray uniforms reminded me of the throwback uniforms that the Lions have worn.
Well, you mean their color rush?
Yeah, the color rush, whatever. Yeah. Which I didn't care for them when Detroit wore them, and I didn't care for them when Hamilton was wearing them last weekend.
I wasn't a fan of that either. Hamilton.
I didn't like the helmet. It said H, and then it said the hammer on that because whatever. But I didn't care for the look. So hopefully we won't see that again. Yeah. One-time thing, that's fine, but go back to your regular. Oh, and going back to USFL for just a second.
Oh, my gosh. We're way too far gone. What are you doing?
No, I'm just making a note. I thought, because we were saying, we've seen arena football, we've seen XFL.
The Canadian League was the only one not represented.
And I swear, I thought I saw a Hamilton Tiger Cats jersey because it was black and it had the yellow, and it just looked like Hamilton. It turned out to be a Pittsburgh Steelers.
I was going to say, it was probably a Pittsburgh Steelers jersey.
Yeah, it was, but.
All right. Then on Saturday night in the CFL, we had the Saskatchewan Roughriders pretty much manhandle the Montreal Alouettes 41-20. Saskatchewan kicker Brett Lothar kicked a 57-yard field goal in the second quarter. Montreal's Chandler Worthy gets his second punt return for a touchdown of the season, an 84-yard whopper.
Yeah, that was a good highlight.
That was a good one. Saskatchewan wide receiver Kean Schaefer-Baker, say that 10 times fast, had a 44-yard touchdown catch and run, which was also pretty good. Then Saskatchewan defensive back Nick Marshall had a pick six in the fourth quarter for 90 yards. So Saskatchewan doing it every which way. And I saw the beginning of this game, and Montreal looked like they had a handle on them at first, but then they just lost it. And if you were following Tim Capper's Twitter page, oh boy, watching him tweet live about the Montreal Alouettes is a scary thing.
Yeah.
He was not happy. It's almost like me tweeting about the Lions during a bad game. So sorry, Montreal Alouettes fans. I'll give you this, though, a little bit of hope and optimism for your team. I do like those new helmets that they got with that logo on the side as opposed to
I like that,
running it across the top.
Right, yeah. I like the smaller bird logo on the side as opposed to big one across the top of the helmet.
I do like that. You should get that mini helmet
much more stylish. I like that. That's pick six by Nick Marshall.
Yeah.
Go check out that highlight. He's running down the field. He ran for 90 yards, but he's running down the field, and a guy has got an angle on him, and he's catching up to him, and he's getting closer and closer. And so he fakes, instead of going out of bounds, he kind of angles towards the guy, and just for a second, and then goes back on his and that was just enough to juke that guy out of his socks and gave him the room to run. I mean, the guy still caught up to him, but by then he was crossing the goal line.
Hey, that
was an awesome highlight.
We say this every week. I'm telling you guys, the Canadian Football League does a fantastic job at packaging their highlights into great 5 to 6, maybe even 7 to 8 minute videos, depending on how crazy the game is.
Yeah.
Because not only do you get the big highlights, you get some of the really interesting momentum-shifting plays that you might not think about at first.
Right.
But I always love how they package everything together from start to finish. Just you get hearing whatever the announcers are doing, setting up the game, because they got great announcers up there in Canada. And, we will sing the praises of the Canadian Football League all the live long day, especially when you get a game like we had on Monday night on the 4th of July between the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as they squeaked past the Toronto Argonauts 23-22. How about this game, everybody? Yeah. Winnipeg had a 17-0 lead in the second quarter before Toronto kicker Boris Beattie kicked a 52-yard field goal. How about that?
Yeah, that was the first points of the game for Toronto.
For Toronto, yep. Then Winnipeg defensive back Winston Rose had a 46-yard interception return for a touchdown in the first quarter. While Toronto wide receiver Brandon Banks wrestled the ball away from a defensive back on the goal line for a touchdown in the third quarter. Now, I came across this highlight first last night.
This is an awesome highlight.
And it was a great, I was like, oh, man, it was from the Toronto Argonauts Instagram page. Mm-hmm. And I was like, why are they showing this highlight of this dude getting intercepted? And then you watch long enough, you're like, oh, the receiver wrestled the ball away from the dude and ended up in the end zone with it, and they called the touchdown. And that might be the play of the week for me.
Yeah, I don't know if they threw a challenge flag or what, but it went to the command center. Well, I guess the command center looks at all scoring plays. So they looked at it, and it took them a while, and they finally agreed that, yes, that was a touchdown. But, it was like kind of like a simultaneous catch between the defender and the wide receiver at about the 1 yard line.
It didn't look simultaneous at first. I thought that defender had it like hook, line, and sinker, but then
they both went to the ground, and they kind of rolled around, and you could see the
receiver came up with
rip it out of that guy's hands, and he just holds it up, and the official's like, oh, touchdown.
Yep, fooled me. That was a Houdini magic trick if I ever saw one on a football field.
Play.
Great play. Like I said, that's probably my play of the year in Canada. I mean, despite having some great kick returns, that right there just made me go, wow.
Yeah.
So as we move on, where was I at? Boris Beattie then missed a PAT for Toronto that would have tied the game with 25 seconds remaining. This one was heartbreaking after seeing that other play like a little while later.
They did such a good job of clawing their way back in this game, and this kick, a point after kick. Of course, it's like from the 10-15 yard line or whatever. It's supposed to be automatic, and he just missed it to the left, and oh my god!
Especially like getting back in there in a game against the defending 2-time champions who are undefeated. Yep. He had a chance to get another victory, and Toronto just falls short. But again, these were the best highlights of the week.
Yeah, this game was.
This game was. And then on by the Calgary Stampeders, who will be at Edmonton next Thursday to start off the week 5.
But if you look at the standings, Toronto's not in a bad spot right now.
Well, I'm sorry, but that whole East Division is in a bad spot. As we recap the standings in the CFL for you guys real quick, in that East Division, the Toronto Argonauts sit at the top, the number 1 team in the East.
Yes.
With a 1-2 record.
Hey, they're still first place, buddy. I'm telling you.
Then the Montreal Alouettes sit in second place with a 1-3 record.
Oh yeah, poor
in
Montreal.
third place, you have the Ottawa Redblacks with a 0-3 record, and then the Hamilton Tiger Cats at the bottom with an 0-4 record. That east side is not looking good. But then on the west side, I guess you can throw a smile on, because if you're a Winnipeg Blue Bombers fan, you're at the top with a 4-0 record, followed by the British Columbia Lions and Calgary Stampeders, both with 3-0 records. Mm-hmm. Then in fourth place, the Saskatchewan Roughriders with a 3-1 record. Good for them. And then at the bottom, the lowly Edmonton Elks, who just got their first win this last week. So everything's looking good in the West.
Yeah, the Elks are 1-3. Maybe they should move that team to the East Division.
I don't know, but that crossover spot, if this is how the league ends up this year, is going to be pretty messed up.
Hey, if they moved them to the East, they'd be tied for second place with Montreal right now with a 1-3 record.
That's true. All right, moving on. We had some indoor football league action. It was week 17. The Vegas Nighthawks defeated the Bay Area Panthers 65-33. The Iowa Barnstormers took out the defending champion Massachusetts Pirates 35-26. The Arizona Rattlers defeated their in-state rival, the Northern Arizona Wranglers, 40-28. And then the Tucson Sugar Skulls took out the San Diego Strikeforce in a high-flying affair, 53-47. On bye, there were actually 6 teams on bye this week: the Sioux Falls Storm, Duke City Gladiators, Quad City Steamwheelers, Frisco Fighters, Green Bay Blizzard, and Bismarck Bucks. Wow, half the league on bye.
Only four games, so 8 teams played and 6 sat out the weekend for the holiday.
So I guess then we're going to look at the IFL standings real fast. In the East, clinching a playoff spot thanks to a loss by the Pirates, the Frisco Fighters at the top of the East with a 12-2 record, followed by said Massachusetts Pirates at 9-5. At 8-6, you have the Quad City Steamwheelers and the Iowa Barnstormers next. Then the 7-7 Sioux Falls Storm, the 6-9 Green Bay Blizzard, and the 3-12 Bismarck Bucks. In the West, oh boy, it's a dogfight there at the top because the Arizona Rattlers got back into first place with a 12-3 record, followed by the 11-3 Northern Arizona Wranglers. In third place, the other Arizona team at 8-6. So all the teams above 500 are from Arizona in the West.
Yeah, Arizona now has a half a game lead, whereas over Northern Arizona, which was the opposite last week. It was Northern Arizona by a half a game.
Yeah.
So now it's a tight race at the top there for those two teams.
Yep. Then at 6-8, you have the Duke City Gladiators and Vegas Nighthawks. At 3-11, the San Diego Strike Force, and at 1-13, the Bay Area Panthers. And you want to take over for the NAL?
Sure. Yeah, it was week 11 in the National Arena League. They had one game on Friday and two on Saturday. On the Friday night game, it was the Jacksonville Sharks over the Orlando Predators, 37-34, in a real close affair. It was on Saturday, it was the Carolina Cobras over the Columbus Lions, 61-36, and the Albany Empire defeated the San Antonio Gunslingers, 62-47. So a quick look at the standings there in the NAL. It is the Carolina Cobras at 8-3, Albany Empire at 6-4, Jacksonville Sharks at 6-5. Columbus Lions at 4-5, San Antonio Gunslingers at 3-6. It's their first loss in 3 weeks, so they're doing all right. And they're still in fifth place out of 6 teams. The last one, the Orlando Predators, in last place, is at 3-7. And wow, that's it for the World of Football scoreboard for this week.
Yeah, pretty much over half of our show.
Yeah, but yeah, a great week of football. Whatever football you're into, it's out there all year long. That's why we're here 52 weeks a year. All right, moving to some...
Except for the 5 weeks we took off.
That's right. Let's see. In NFL news, Deshaun Watson is still waiting to hear his fate from the NFL. There was a hearing last week. It took, 3 or 4 days for this hearing in front of an arbitrator. But it ended on Thursday, and we thought that we might hear something on Friday, before the holiday weekend, what the NFL is going to do, what they decide, how long of a suspension they decide to give him, if at all. The talk still is that he's going to be suspended for a year, or that's what the NFL wants. They may have to go through the Players Association and work something out there. But, here it is Tuesday now, and this was last Thursday, so almost a week later, and we've heard nothing yet.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign, or
could drop any minute for all we know.
Yeah, could be breaking news here anytime though. So, but I'm really surprised that we haven't heard something yet. I would think the NFL would want to get this out of the way and say this is our ruling and let the chips fall. So, nothing so far. And another story that you just brought to my attention a little while ago. The cause of death has finally been announced for former Denver Broncos wide receiver Demaryius Thomas. The parents, I guess, were on Good Morning America or one of the morning shows this morning. And they announced that the death was caused by a seizure disorder that led to cardiac arrest, and this was all brought on by stage 2 CTE.
Wow.
Now, according to the article, it said CTE won't kill you, but it will affect your body in a way that, causing seizures, cardiac arrest, and that is what killed him. But CTE itself, I guess, doesn't kill. I was under the impression that, the CTE was the cause, but it's not. It
was a factor.
It's what creates the cause that kills you.
Yeah. So it was really sad. Hearing that come out and only being 33.
Yeah.
And being diagnosed with a second stage CTE.
Yeah. He passed away last December.
Very scary stuff for players, and I know it's a risk they take playing the game, and I know they're constantly trying to, improve the health and safety in the league. But
seems like more and more families are donating the brains of their relatives that died because they probably feel like the CTE was the cause of the death or contributed to the death of their family member who played in the NFL. So, we're getting more and more of these reports that show that it's not a fluke. It's becoming more and more common. I won't say common, but it's become more and more of a factor.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to some college news.
Oh, the biggest college news.
There wasn't much going on this past week. Oh, wait a minute. USC and UCLA announced that they are going to be joining the Big Ten Conference in 2024. I thought this was a joke when I saw
this was a rumor. I was like, "There's no way this could be true, right?
Yeah.
No way. Like this is weird. Why does this make any sense?" And then eventually we started getting official confirmation from the schools themselves. I know USC put out a tweet about it's true, and boy, oh boy, the ever-changing landscape of college football.
This is ridiculous.
Is insane.
Yeah.
You never know what team's going to be jumping ship, what kind of ramifications this is going to have. What does this mean now for the Big Ten in a couple years when you finally get these two teams? And it was funny, I found that map of where all the Big Ten teams are. And then all the way out west, you got the two.
Maryland, Rutgers.
Yeah, but all the way out west, then you have UCLA and USC. Just a big old gap in between
from
them.
coast to coast. Yeah, and it reminded me of the map that I saw of the NFL back in the 1940s when the Cleveland Rams moved to Los Angeles. You saw all the NFL teams in the Midwest, on the East Coast, whatever, and then out on the West Coast, you had one team, the LA Rams, for a while until more teams went out there. But yeah, it's the same thing. That's the way the Big Ten Conference is looking right now. So I don't know if they're secretly planning more expansion out that way.
Right? Who knows? So yes, so the Pac-12 now will be going from 10 to 8 teams. So I guess it can't be called the Pac-12 anymore.
Well, the Big Ten has not been a
is
conference
also
with
true.
10 teams for a long time.
But,
so the name's got nothing to do
but
with it.
But between Oklahoma and Texas jumping ship from the Big 12 going to the SEC, now these the Big 12 and the Pac-12 now they're losing teams.
They're packing their list of teams with some real superstars. Superstar teams.
How they lost teams?
Well, yeah, they've lost some teams, but they're gaining big name teams.
No, they're not. Who are they gaining?
You just said that they're gaining Texas and Oklahoma.
The SEC is, but the Big 12 is not. If you would have listened and let me go where I was going, the Big 12 and the Pac-12 are losing teams, which means one of these two conferences are going to have to either completely fold or get dissolved into the other conference, or these two conferences are going to have to merge because there's going to be no conference left for any of these schools to go to.
It's such a weird time.
It's messed up.
A few years ago, we went through a big shakeup where a lot of teams moved from one conference to another, and I knew that wasn't going to be the end of it. But boy, this just struck me as so odd that
we're getting to those super
UCLA.
conference people have been talking about, and I don't think it'll end there. Right now, it's like these conferences. It's an arms race. They're trying to get as many teams as they can into their conference, and then where does it go from there? Does it become kicking teams out that can't hold their weight?
Yeah.
Like, is the Big Ten eventually just going to be USC, UCLA, Michigan, Ohio State,
Michigan State,
maybe Michigan State? Like,
Wisconsin,
are you only going to
maybe.
pick the cream of the crop teams that are in and out of the championship discussion every year?
Yeah.
If you're the SEC, I mean, I don't know if they'd get rid of any teams. They're the best conference in the country.
Yes.
But like, would you kick out like your Ole Misses and your Mississippi State had like a good year, but would you kick out Arkansas and some of these other small, like, I won't say smaller, but these lower tier schools that aren't really in the national championship conversation? Like, is that what we're going to get to?
Well, yeah, I was saying recently that every conference has like a couple of superstar teams, and then the rest of them that aren't going to be, competing for the conference.
Might have a good year here and there, but not consistently like in
so
Ohio
like in the
State.
Big Ten, you've got Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State, maybe Wisconsin, and that's it. And then there's the also rans like Indiana, Purdue, and
Illinois.
Rutgers, and whatever.
Yeah.
So and it's the same with the SEC. They've got a couple of top-notch teams,
Alabama, Georgia, and then it's everybody else.
and everybody else. Yeah. So it's hard to say. I don't know. I think. For teams like Michigan and Alabama, you want a bunch of also-rans in your conference to make it easier for you to get there. If you're packed with superstars every year, you may not be seeing the conference championship game very often.
Maybe not. But I mean, if it's your road to get into the playoff, having these bigger name schools in your conference, like, hey, Michigan went and beat a USC, or USC went in and beat Ohio State to take a big claim at going to the national championship or the playoff. Like, it's going to be weird. It's going to be crazy, and it ain't done yet. That's the scary thing, is that it's not done yet. So what are we going to end up looking like? Is it going to be 4 super conferences? Is it going to be like 3 super conferences? I have no idea. Are we going to start finally shedding some of these other conferences? Like, hey, the MAC, well, you're Division I, we're just going to push you off to the side. You and that other, what do they call them, the Power 5, and then there's the Group of 5.
Group of 5,
So
yeah.
the Group of 5 schools are just going to be excluded pretty much from the national championship discussion at some point. Like I said, I'm waiting for them to do the 2-tiered system. I'm waiting for a gold division, and I'm waiting for a silver division, where that Group of 5, guess what? You only play for the silver national championship, while the other ones get the gold national, the real national championship. I'm waiting for that to happen. It's eventually going to happen. It's going to be like a subdivision. Like, while it's still the top tier, it's like 1B.
Right, yeah.
Not 1A. So,
well, I was speculating on this last week, but I've actually seen a couple of articles. I didn't read the articles today, but I did see a couple. I was really busy today. This has been a very, very busy day today. But I did see a couple of articles where people were speculating just like me. And I don't know if there's any truth to it or not, but they were a couple of articles that speculated, will Notre Dame be joining the Big Ten? And I've been saying that they should. It's the logical place for them. And now, because Notre Dame has been playing USC or UCLA, every year. So, if they're all in the same conference, that kind of works out good because they've already got a natural rivalry there. So I don't know. I don't like to get into rumors.
They have ties with the ACC. We talked about that.
Right.
But I do think the Big Ten is probably the more logical choice, because then you can go back to having your Michigan rivalry, your Michigan State rivalry.
And they're so close, the fans can jump in a car and drive over there for the game.
Then you got your USC rivalry.
That
schedule, if you're Notre Dame, you jumping into that. That's like an automatic great schedule year in and year. You play Ohio State. You play Wisconsin. There's 5 or 6 teams right there that Notre Dame gets that are like, hey, we beat all these teams. We're national champion, locked and loaded right there.
Yeah.
Maybe, or you go to the ACC where you got who? Clemson, and then who else? Maybe a North Carolina when they're decent. I don't know. But make up your mind, Notre Dame. But again, crazy times we're living in with this conference shakeup.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the next domino to fall?
Yeah. I'm almost afraid to know. Some people could be throwing out possible scenarios, and I wouldn't know if it was true or not. Yeah. It's just so crazy.
Yep.
All right, let's move on from here. Arena Football TV on YouTube. The game that they posted just the other day is from 1997. Is the Tampa Bay Storm at the Texas Terror, a team I didn't really see that much of. This was another game that was on the Sunshine Network, and we talked about that last week. It was like a regional thing where we probably have never seen this game before. But it was only the second season for the Terror, and I think this was from week 10. So an interesting game. I started watching a little bit of it and got a chance to see the stadium and all that. So, yeah, check that out. Tampa Bay Storm at the Texas Terror from 1997 on Arena Football TV on YouTube. All right, we do have a couple of birthdays today, July 5th. It's the birthday of John McKay. Born on this date in 1923, he passed away in 2001 at the age of 77. He was a head coach at USC from 1960 to 1975 and led the team to 4 national championships in 62, 67, 72, and 74. From there, he went on to become the first head coach of the NFL expansion Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 1976, and he coached there through 1984. So for as much success as he had in college, he went to the pros and started out with an 0-26 record. And I don't know if you remember seeing this, but there was a great scene where he was at a post-game press conference. He was always quick with a joke or whatever. And somebody said, what do you think of your team's execution today? And he said, I'm all in favor of it. That was such a good line. But, yeah, he had great success in college. Eventually, he got things turned around, and he always kept saying that it was going to take 5 years to turn this team around. And they asked him, why 5 years? And he said, because I got a 5-year contract. So if I don't turn things around, I'm out of here. But I think he had some success with the team in the end. I don't know if he ever led them to the playoffs. He might have. But John McKay, birthday today. And let's see, Johnny Rodgers. He turned 71 years old today. He played college football at Nebraska, and he was the 1972 Heisman Trophy winner. He was the 25th overall pick of the 1973 NFL Draft by the San Diego Chargers, but he chose to sign with the CFL's Montreal Alouettes, where he played from 1973 to 1976. He was the 1973 CFL Rookie of the Year and he won a Grey Cup with the Alouettes in 1974. He then returned to the States, and he actually did play for the Chargers, who drafted him for 2 years in 1977 and 1978. And he was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1999. So, happy birthday, Johnny Rodgers, 71 years old today. Luckily, I did not find any obituaries of note this week, so we're going to skip over obituaries, and we're going to go right into this week's history lesson, unless you saw something on the phone. Any word on Notre Dame joining the
No
Big
breaking
Ten?
news, no fake news, but if you want a great video out there, I believe it was some CBS Sports video. They did like a fake announcement of like all these other schools jumping ship for different conferences.
Yeah,
and
you showed me that.
It's a pretty funny video. If you can find that and share it on Facebook somewhere, that'd probably be, or Facebook or Twitter.
Yeah,
that'd be great. It's a fun video. I'll have to find that and have you post that everywhere.
Okay, yeah, you find it, I'll post it. All right, this week's history lesson is the history of the Egg Bowl. There are a lot of colorful and unusual names for current and former college football bowl games, ranging from the Salad Bowl to the Bluebonnet Bowl. But one bowl game is not technically a bowl game at all. Instead, it is a college football rivalry game between two college football teams in Mississippi who really don't like each other. It is known as the Egg Bowl, and it can trace its roots all the way back to 1927. It began as the Battle for the Golden Egg, and is played annually between Ole Miss and Mississippi State. The two teams first met each other on the gridiron on October 25, 1902, as independent schools. Ole Miss won the game by shutting out Mississippi State that day 21-0. In fact, Ole Miss won 5 of the first 7 games between the two schools, but then lost 12 straight to Mississippi State through 1925. The trophy was first proposed by members of the Sigma Iota Honorary Society at Ole Miss. It was to be called the Golden Egg, and made of a regulation-size gold-plated football mounted on a wooden pedestal. The approximate cost at the time was $250, and each school would pay half of it. The first rivalry game to feature the trophy was on Thursday, November 24, 1927, Thanksgiving Day. The game was won by Ole Miss 20-12. It was just their 7th win in 21 games. At the time, both teams were members of the Southern Conference. In 1978, Ole Miss posted a 4-6 record, and Mississippi State had a record of 6-4. Neither team was going to a bowl game that year, so the Clarion Ledger newspaper dubbed the final game of the season for the two teams the Egg Bowl. The name stuck and has been used ever since to refer to this in-state rivalry game. In 1933, both teams joined the Southeastern Conference, the SEC, and they're still members today. Over the years, the rivalry has been an intense one, to say the least. Many games featured fights between the players on the field. Through 2021, the two teams had played each other a total of 114 times. Mississippi State leads the all-time series with 64 wins, 45 losses, and 5 ties. This in-state rivalry is one that has captured the attention of the nation and brings recognition to the two schools, though not always in a positive way. And now you know just a little bit about the history of the Egg Bowl.
Yeah, so before you said that this is what you were doing, I've never heard of this game ever. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know Ole Miss, I know Mississippi State, and never heard of this rivalry. This is one of those games that went under the radar. If I saw the highlights on ESPN, I never knew it was called the Egg Bowl. Mm-hmm. Or I just thought that the announcer was slurring his words. I have no idea. But interesting. The trophy's pretty cool looking. Mm-hmm. And a very interesting history that like I said, it's not really a bowl game, but it's a regular season rivalry game. So interesting that how it got its name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear about the Egg Bowl every year, and the announcers will say, "Oh, and today's Egg Bowl," and I never remember who the teams were that competed, but I know it's been around for a long time. Didn't know all the details about it, so this has been on my list to research and try to explain a little bit about what the Egg Bowl is all about. So now you know. All right, upcoming events calendar. Thursday, August 4th, the Pro Football Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio, which is where we just were the other day.
Yeah, if you're a Raiders fan or if you're a Jags fan, I'd say it might be a preseason game, and I usually don't recommend going to a preseason game.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to get the experience at that Canton Stadium, this is worth it.
Yeah, you go for the experience, and if it's your team,
and I would love to see what kind of other activities they do for an NFL game as opposed to what the USFL did.
And I haven't seen anywhere yet where they told the attendance for yesterday's game.
I hadn't heard. I can
look
that up real quick.
Yeah, well, if you can find it, great. Because to me, it looked like it was close to a sellout if it wasn't a sellout. But I'm not sure how many seats Tom Benson Stadium holds, but it was pretty packed. I was surprised. There were people that were still coming in at the end of the first quarter, and I thought that was kind of strange. But just a great atmosphere and a great game there in Canton. So if you ever get a chance to go to Canton, check out the Hall of Fame and a game next door at Tom Benson Stadium, do it. I highly recommend it. All right, other upcoming events. Tuesday, August 9th, Major League Football inaugural season begins. Since I saw all this stuff a week ago about this new Major League Football, I have heard nothing. And I even subscribe to their Twitter feed, so I've seen nothing since last week, and it's a very quiet league. I don't know if we'll be following their games. Their website was crap, so it's hard to say, but at least it's on my radar right now that August 9th is when that league is supposed to kick off. We'll see. 4 teams.
Right. And so what I found out, I mean, the stadium seats 23,000 people.
Okay.
And I'm not seeing an official number, but if I were to guess, it had to have been 20,000 plus.
Yeah.
Maybe not the full 23.
Right.
But there were definitely not that many empty seats left. I would say at least 20, maybe 19,000 people there.
Yeah.
So
it was a good showing.
It was a decent turnout.
I think the turnout was better than for the 2 playoff games that they had the weekend before. But yeah, I thought it was a really great showing, and like you said, you should have had all 8 mascots there. But otherwise, it was a great time. And then finally on our upcoming events calendar, Thursday, September 8th, the NFL regular season kicks off with the Buffalo Bills at the Los Angeles Rams.
We're almost there.
Way to start the season. Whoever came up with that first game on the schedule, buy him a burger.
Almost 2 months away. Almost 2 months away in a couple days.
Yep.
Heck yeah.
All right. Anything else before we call this a show?
No breaking news, no nothing. But like we always say, something's bound to happen as soon as we turn these microphones
off. It always does. Always happens. All right, that's all the time we've got for this week. If you learned something during this podcast about the incredible amount of diversity that exists in the world of football, then we have done our job. Visit our website at theworldoffootball.com for news, links, upcoming events, videos, and more. Our email address is info@theworldoffootball.com.
You can also like The World of Football on Facebook at TWOF Kalamazoo. You can also follow our Twitter account, which is at TWOF Kalamazoo. New episodes of this very podcast are posted on Tuesdays and are available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. Our YouTube channel is The World of Football Kalamazoo, so please subscribe, rate, review, give us a like, leave us a comment, let us know what you think, and please come be a part of the football conversation because, well, we're going to try something different this week. We might have a couple videos, some excerpts from the podcast going up as videos, so be on the lookout for that.
Been a while since we've done this. I've
so,
gotten used to not having the GoPros sticking me in the face for the whole show, but we're going to see how that turns out this week.
We'll see.
All right, and remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than we do. Until next week, I'm Randy Snow.
And I'm Adam Snow.
And we'll see you all next week.